Hello, you guys. This is Twintuition Tuesdays. My name is Carla. Totally fixing my hair.
And I'm Marla.
Yes, and this is Marla. The music I just kind of got right. Marla, slide that way a little bit. Okay, there, that's good. All right, Sherry. Hello. Welcome to Twintuition Tuesdays. You guys, I am doing 365 lives all the way until June 2nd, 2021. And I actually started this challenge. I started doing the challenge like this last year and I didn't finish. So I'm starting again. Or earlier this year, I started again. Hey, Pamela.
Hi, Pamela.
And Marla is actually joining me during the challenge on Tuesdays. And we decided to come together and do this Twintuition Tuesdays because 12 years ago, my identical twin sister, Marla, had a psychotic break. And at that time, I realized that I didn't know anything about mental illness, but I also didn't know anything about mental wellness. I was like, what in the world is mental wellness? Because I looked around and I noticed that most people were not embodying anywhere near mental wellness, not even the people who were, not even just everybody, basically. So am I saying you crazy? I'm saying, well, yeah, because we never really learned to not be crazy. So tonight, me and Marla are talking all about mental wellness. Sherry says, hey, Marla and Carla, you both look great as always. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you. And today, you guys, we tried to match a little bit, but
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, all right, Marla likes it. Yeah, so I'm excited about tonight's topic as well because yesterday, Sunday night, I kicked off the self-trust topic and Marla and I got to talking. And there were some times during the 12 years of very ups and downs and just crazy times that I was just thinking, what in the world? How is this freaking happening? And if I wasn't so distraught, it would have actually been, I was so curious as to what in the world was going on with in Marla's cranium, because some of the stuff that she was doing, I just was like, how did she get so bold? One of the times she walked outside, well, more than one of the times, she went out into the world and we weren't at a nude beach, but she wasn't wearing any clothes. Marla, how did you get so bold?
It was hard. It wasn't easy, but it's just something where I'm not putting the pieces together in a way that I have a thing to do other than something where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't have the pieces together, but I am thinking that I'm doing something to try to end the world, or that I'm doing something to try and say that this isn't the real reality here. That's the first time I did that, I walked outside naked. I was supposed to be doing something that others would do too, to say that it was not real here.
So it's almost like this extra layer of rebelliousness. It's like extreme rebelliousness. Am I getting it right?
I don't know if I think of it as that, but I am supposed to be doing something that is supposed to be saying that people aren't crazy.
Hey, I just kind of said that, but it's actually more than once that she walked outside naked. So
yeah, it was.
One time it was really cold.
Yeah, one time it was really cold and I got frostbite on my feet.
And I just was really... Tell us about that time when you walked outside naked and it was really cold and you got frostbite in your feet.
Something was telling me that I needed to leave the house where I live with Carla, and it was saying that that I would be choosing a side, that would be, good by leaving.
And then how'd you get frostbite on your feet?
It was really cold. There was snow on the ground and ice, and I was walking outside without any shoes or clothes on, and so I got some frostbite, but it wasn't so bad that I, lost any toes, but it was kind of bad. I still have scarring on my toes now from that.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I did want her to talk about that, and one of the reasons why I did bring it up in regards to self-trust, was because I almost was like, just on the outside looking in, wondering like how like she was okay with doing that, because she was typically pretty quiet before and kind of never doing anything like that. So never doing anything that would have been bold, or never doing anything that would have been anywhere near being like naked outside. So I just and since I could not reason with her or ask her those questions, I wanted her to talk about that too, because I just, from my eyes, I'm like, I was so worried that something was going to happen to her, and kept being that way too, like how she could not be worried about her safety. So I wanted a little bit of behind the scenes on that. Marla, what's your take on self-trust?
It sounds like kind of like confidence in yourself. Was what I saw was one of the synonyms was self-confidence when I did a Google search for self-trust. It sounds kind of like counting on yourself, or kind of like believing in yourself.
Yeah, so I really wanted to get her insight on that, because obviously in a way it does look that way, right? Like that takes some cojones, just kind of walking outside nude. And I don't know, I really felt like it looked almost like it was this huge level of confidence or boldness, because there were other incidents too. Marla, there were a couple other times too when you walked outside naked. Sherry says, thanks to you, Marla and Carla, for being so open and raw. I am thinking about wellness every day. Good. You guys, wellness is really, like I said, it's even though we talk a lot about some of the things that happened with Marla, like I said, it really opened my eyes to, well, what should we be focusing on in ways to be mentally well? Because worry is not mentally well. Stress is not mentally well. Anxiety, depression, and those are all very normal states of mind in our culture. Even just though like overwhelming sense of low self-confidence, low self-esteem, those are all really harmful. Overeating all of these things are so harmful, but it's also all really very normal. Addictions, they all come from a source of us not really having a clear way to focus on mental wellness. That was so obvious to me so many times over the course of the 12 years, is that we actually don't have anything clear to focus on that would help us to guide ourselves into a direction of being our most mentally well. And obviously that would be better than prevention. Like, it was obvious to me that would be better than prevention, to just focus on mental wellness. But it was like, where is it? How do you learn about it? How can you find it within yourself? And for the most part, since we don't talk about it, it is challenging, right? But hey, Marge. But we want to talk about it in such a way that we start to really look at, sometimes it takes you guys to see what happens in its absence in order to know what happens when we're really well, when we're really healthy. So healthy moves would be really taking care of ourselves, right? Healthy moves would be really striving for something above and beyond what's the normal level of is actually not healthy. Nicole says, the more we share our struggles, the less others will struggle, because they will know they aren't alone. Yeah, I do feel like that is true. So the other reason why we want to talk about it was because there's such a stigma around mental illness. There's such a huge stigma around mental illness, and Marla's got like a little smirk, that's why I laughed. But there's such a huge stigma around mental illness that nobody really talks about it, and it's just a challenge because, hello to you both beautiful sisters, says Marge.
Hi, Marge.
And so I find it really challenging too, because since most people didn't understand it, I found it really hard to talk to anybody about it. So I just didn't, I didn't really talk to anybody. And people would ask me all the time, where's Marla? And they didn't really understand at all any of what was going on. So something else that was interesting with Marla too was that she didn't take her meds and she didn't think she needed her meds. And so I found that to be very bold. Lots of times that was actually the struggle to some extent. And it was almost like she was just fighting for, that freedom of expression, fighting for a high level of just her own wellness. And so I said she just talked March. She's gonna talk again. But I have to find questions to ask her, or she won't talk.
Oh, well, yeah, you were talking about that before you started the video, but you were saying that it looks like some of the stuff I did. It looks like I did have a lot of self-trust. It is an act of self-trust or self-believing in yourself. Somewhat, because you're saying that you disagree with the medical conclusion of what's happening with you, and you believe in your own idea of what's happening with you. And so I didn't think that what was going on with me was that I was having a psychotic break or having schizophrenia. I didn't think that was really what was happening with me. Not even though that's what it's called, and I would say that's what it's called, but I thought that what was really happening with me was something where, the things that I was hearing was something, and so that's what I thought. And so when I'm having the episodes, when I stop taking the medicine, it's where I start to believe or trust in myself more than the societal, conclusion of what was happening with me. And even though it's called schizophrenia, I would probably still say it's called schizophrenia, but I believe something else is happening behind what is schizophrenia.
Yeah. And I always did too. I always felt like she was having some type of awakening or some type of experience that was more of like a it's like, what happened to the music? More something that was almost like, just a like, hey, pay attention, almost like a wake up call, an awakening and a wake up call, I feel like. And it was definitely a wake up call for me, seeing some of the stuff that she was going through. And just seeing that she, I don't know, it made me open my eyes to a lot of things. Like I said, the fact that mental wellness was not something that was talked about at all. And the fact that mental illness had such a stigma around it that it was almost like a catch-22. You couldn't talk about either because mental wellness is just not so common. Having the calm mind, having peace in your life, having an overall general sense of just groundedness, even if something horrible happens, even if something amazing happens, that sense of groundedness is something that that I know is a big piece of mental wellness. But again, it's just it took me a long time to even find that, to start to know more about it. It's just not a lot of pieces to the puzzle that we see in our environment, because it's just so normal to be on the struggle bus when it comes to wellness in general. Mental wellness, physical wellness, all of that stuff is something that is just largely dismissed. So I'm going to read some of these comments. Marla, did you want to say something else? That was my brother, just like the movie Rain Man. I remember the movie Rain Man. The other thing too is that schizophrenia is largely misunderstood. I'll say that because a lot of times people think of it as being the same as split personalities, you guys. And in movies, it's almost always portrayed that way, but that's not what it is. It's not split personality. And what schizophrenia actually means is, oopsie daisy. You guys, my alarm was going off. So yeah, but it doesn't mean split personality. It means something, it means more so that, Marla, do you want to explain what it is that?
It means split mind, I think you said it was called.
That's what the word actually means. But when we talk about what schizophrenia is, it means that the person has psychosis. So they are having hallucinations, that they are, having an experience that is separate from what most of us experience as reality. But the other thing that I learned too is that we're all having our own completely individual, unique experience of reality. So two people, I started doing so much research after that. Two people watching the same movie are having a completely unique, different experience. No two brains are identical. No two brains, even identical twins don't have identical brains. So that means the brain that you have, your experience that you're having right now is 100% unique. Nobody else will ever have the same experience that you're having right now of this video, that you're having right now of the life that you're seeing from your eyes. Nobody will ever have that experience again in the history and going forward or ever before. So everybody's experience is unique. No two are the same. Sherry says, Marla, do you feel different now than 12 years ago?
I am on medicine now. I take the medicine because I am noisy if I don't take it. And, talking to something that I feel like is, doing things or saying things to me. And so I take medicine now. I do feel like I'm different than I was 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I was still not sure enough of what was happening with me, such that I was getting taken on a ride or some, during the psychotic episode where I was doing weird things and things that were dangerous to me. But I don't get taken on the ride anymore. I hope it's okay for me to use those words to describe it. But just getting caught up with stuff I'm hearing in my mind and stuff like that in such a way that I'm doing things and thinking things that are putting me in a position where I'm putting myself in danger and things like that. I don't feel like I'm in that same place anymore where I would do that, because I understand better what's happening. And I also decided at one point that I wasn't going to do things I didn't want to do anymore. And so I'm doing that. And so I'm doing better now than I was 12 years ago. And I am in a different position right now.
Yeah. So it's interesting too for me to see. I 100% can tell that she's different now than she was then, Even when Marla was going through some of the most just uncertain times in terms of just being in and out of the hospital. One time she was in California, she was in jail, she's been homeless. You guys, she's been through a lot of stuff, and we don't talk about all the things. It's literally been, like she said, like a roller coaster ride. There's so many stories. There's so many experiences that were literally like, we didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do. But throughout, a lot of her doctors said that she was high functioning and that, she had a lot of autonomy and ability to describe what she was experiencing to a point where, like I said, I was really interested in knowing what that was and actually what was going on. Because a lot of times when we label something, we label it and we don't look beyond the label to see what's actually going on. That's very normal to do that. But to have the curiosity to want to know what's going on, I always had that. And it was interesting too, because sometimes some of the stuff she would say was so descriptive that it made me more interested. Marla, do you remember sometimes being told that you were high functioning?
Not really. I don't really remember that, but I can see someone saying that as opposed to maybe someone that has some other disability along with schizophrenia. There were a lot of people like that at the center I used to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is. So one of the things too is there are some things that I remember that she doesn't remember, and I don't want to just come off and talk about them. I think we've been talking about putting some of that, talking about it, our different perspectives of the same situation in the book, but I won't just whatever, like give my whole spiel. I know it seems like I'm talking a lot, but sometimes I'll say it, just say things to see if it'll spark something in her, because she tells me a lot when we're off camera. And so I'm just talking, so she will do that.
Yeah, you can say something and for me to comment on it, Carla, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll say one thing and then we're going to start to wrap this up because I know it's going a little bit long. But there was a time when I went to a doctor's appointment with her, and it was fairly early on, like within the first couple of years. And her doctor did tell her to just live a normal life. He's like, just live a normal life. Just go to work, get married, have kids, and just have a normal life. And that, basically, like, that would be a remedy, And I remember thinking, like, what? And I remember her saying that, what if it's not me? She kept saying, what if it's not me? What if it's something in the environment? And then and I remember just being so curious about that, because it was something that I never thought about. What if it's something in the environment? And I literally always started to think that too about a lot of people who had mental illness. Maybe it was something bigger than just a label that they had. Maybe they are seeing something that we don't see, And I told her that, like, it's the canary in the coal mine. The canary in the coal mine. Maybe they're aware of something that is affecting everybody, but because they just have a different level of sensitivity, we each have a different experience, you guys. We each have different sensitivities. I always thought, what if they're just noticing something that we can't notice? Or what if they're experiencing something that is affecting everybody, but they're able to be more aware of it in a way that they can't ignore it. They can't just go on and pretend like they're not having that experience, right? Because we all have that, some level of awareness of stuff that we just keep moving. We ignore it and we don't pay attention. We don't give voice to it. There's plenty of people that do that. I'm going to read another comment, and then if Marla, do you have anything else to say about my little spiel? Nicole, I know that your brother also has schizophrenia.
Yes, I agree with that view. I mean, with other areas too, like I've heard that canary in the coal mine analogy used before with children in school. Some children not doing as well as other children being the canary in the coal mine. But I agree with that. That it is possibly something else that the people are oops, sorry. No, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, Nicole. I'm doing very bad with my comment jockeying. But I believe that, I don't know why it's not letting me like her comment, but sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I believe that there is something else going on, and then that the people do have a different level of sensitivity to something in the environment. Okay. All right. Say Sherry says, so powerful, so happy you all are having these conversations. Yeah. Hey, Vicky. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you, Sunday. Vicky says, Marla, thank you for sharing your insights and experiences. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, there are so many things that Marla would tell me sometimes, and I would literally be like, even the way some of what she says, even now, I can tell that it's just, she's very aware of what she's experiencing, and sometimes it makes sense to me what she's saying. And if you have and a lot of times I think somebody might say, well, Carla, it's not that it doesn't make sense, she's hallucinating. But to some extent, do you see where if we're all having a unique experience, to some extent we all could be hallucinating something? And so some people will be completely turned off and they won't be able to ponder that for a second, right? And I'm not saying that you have to. It takes a very open mind to consider what somebody else is going through. It takes a very open mind to do that. And I know that is not natural for a lot of people. But if you can consider that somebody is having an experience that you are unable to hop into their shoes and have that experience, then you know that there may be something there that will call your attention to something that you can't see. And so I am appreciative of being able to
hear some of her insights as well over the years, and just kind of be able to talk about it in a way that usually we don't talk about it. You know, not condemning her and saying she is crazy or she is ill, or doing that is not going to help anything. And it also doesn't leave any room to learn what is actually going on for the other person. So Sunday said, totally believe that. Agreed, way more aware. I can only imagine how stressful that would be. Yeah, sorry I didn't see some of these comments, you guys. Debbie says, thank y'all so much for being so open. My brother is diagnosed with this, and so, this is so enlightening. Yeah, it is. That's one reason why we want to talk about it too. Like, I knew I wasn't alone. And then there were times when she wasn't, you guys, there's plenty of horrible times. There were times when she was not talking to me. There were times when, you know, I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to be able to reason with her, and she was not open with that at all. There were times when she would call me names. There were times when she would be extremely angry at me and like send me angry text messages and stuff like that, or that sometimes I was just worried because I would see her going outside and she'd be wearing something crazy, and I would be so scared that somebody was going to do something to her because she looked like she looked, and she'd be talking to herself, and I was afraid that something would happen to her. There's so many things, so many times that things were horrible. I'm not trying to downplay that at all, or to the point where I didn't know what to do, but there were also times when I would talk to her and I'd be like, you know, just, oh my gosh, like I understand what she's communicating. So that's very intriguing. My granddaughter has schizophrenia. Yeah. I totally think there's a lot more to learn about about some of the schizophrenia, and I don't always call it disease, you guys, because I feel like it's something that we just labeling it, sometimes we're unable to really see what it is. So there's a lot to be said when we're looking at schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, all of those things. And I know that they're not all completely different, because there are sometimes, Marla, I feel like you were experiencing some anxiety.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, it's something that it doesn't have to be a stigma. It doesn't have to be something that people completely misunderstand. Like I said, a lot of times schizophrenia is portrayed as split personality disorder, and it's not that. You know, it's villainization of even what it means to say somebody is mentally ill, and it's because it's a huge lack of knowledge, understanding, and it's just completely misunderstood. A lot of brain stuff is because we just know so very little about the mind. So I like to be able to talk about this. So we're getting ready to wrap up. Do you have something you want to say, Marla, in closing? Marla's face, you guys?
No, I agree with Carla. I'm glad that she thinks those things, where she's open to seeing what's happening in a way that it's not considered someone to be really crazy and stuff like that. I appreciate that. But I do think some of the stuff that I went through is something where I could be just doing things in a way that I don't want to do them. And, you know, getting caught up with things I'm hearing and things I'm thinking based on what I'm hearing, what I'm making sense of bits and pieces that don't really make sense the way I was putting them together. You know, I don't want to do that, but I don't want to call it mental illness either, even though we're talking about mental wellness, and so we talk about what is considered mental illness with me as a way to help make more sense of what is mental wellness. And I do think I can help do that by talking about what has happened with me, and getting caught up with, you know, bits and pieces of things I'm hearing and making sense of based off of what I'm hearing and things like that.
Cassandra.
I believe that is something that is not the best thing to do.
Yeah. Vicky says we never use the C word in our house and makes light of diminishes something that is so serious.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make you rethink the C word, Vicky, because it's easy to, again, just, whenever you want to discredit someone, call them crazy. If you want to discredit somebody, call them crazy. Cassandra says, beautifully put.
Okay, thanks, Cassandra. I'm not sure if she's talking about me or you.
Yeah. So the other thing, just as we start to wrap up today, it's just like what Vicky said, it's just opening up, your ears to be able to hear some things. And I know I want to say that it's really hard sometimes, especially if you can't reason with the person, but it just kind of helps to, I really would say that some of what happened to Marla is one of the things that helped me to open my mind even more. Vicky says it's right in the same level as the R word. Words are powerful. Words are powerful. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And so as we wrap up today and we start to look at mental wellness, it's definitely a lot to do with peace, having peace in the mind and being able to have thoughts, and being able to also distinguish between thoughts and what your awareness is. You can be aware. Like the thing with Marla was that she was so aware of her thoughts. She was so aware of the experiences and her descriptions. I could tell it really was powerful for me to hear her describe it. But there is a level of awareness that you can see your thoughts and not be ruled by your thoughts. There's freedom from your thoughts. So I'm going to read Cassandra's comment. I struggle as well, CPTSD, anxiety, and ADHD, and I started completely to empower women. We can do anything. Absolutely. Especially when you do
company.
Huh?
A company? You started a company.
Oh, you started a company. So Marla is asking, did you start a company, Cassandra?
No, I'm not asking. I'm saying you said completely.
Oh, sorry. You started. Okay, so Cassandra says, I struggle as well, CPTSD, anxiety, and ADHD, and I started a company, to empower women. We can do anything. Absolutely. Yeah, we absolutely can do anything. Yeah, you guys, it's so important for me and Marla to talk about wellness and to be able to openly talk about some of what she encountered and she experienced, because I feel like it's something that really opened my mind and really helped me to be able to see mental wellness as something that was so important and so missing. It's so missing. You won't look around and just see it. It is something that we each have available, and the more we can tap into mental wellness, the more of our potential we can utilize. There's so much potential. There was so much potential I could see in Marla too, and just wanting her to be able to express that. And we all have so much potential beyond, what we can see with our current level of mental functioning. And so the more you increase your mental wellness, the more of your potential will be able to tap into and live a lot more healthier, holistic life. So that's totally possible for all of us. Cassandra says, I love that you are using mental wellness instead of mental illness. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we have to.
Yeah. We're looking at what is considered mental illness and seeing what we can make sense of as what is mental wellness, partly from that, and then also we talked about a couple of things that we saw as mental wellness. I think one of the first times that we did an episode.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of components to mental wellness, and Marla shared a lot of good stuff. You guys, this is like our 5th or 6th one, I think. So we're gonna keep doing these, and we'll talk about different things each time, because we talked about a bunch of different pieces, but definitely is mental wellness is definitely worth the pursuit for sure. And we're talking about mental illness, or some of what is considered to be mental illness, as just a way to look at we don't talk about it. We don't look at it. So looking at it as something that helps us to learn about what it is to be mentally well, because we can do that, right? There are so many people that I would meet when I was a personal trainer, you guys, that would only come to start working out and taking care of their physical health after they had been to the doctor, and they found out that they were really not healthy at all. Sometimes you don't really know the landscape until you kind of until you encounter something that is not wellness, right? Sometimes we don't know truth until we know what is not true, and so that's kind of life. Sometimes Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. You guys, I gave us a talk on this topic earlier this year, and that was the quote that I used. Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. And so, very true. Shirley says, I'm thoroughly enjoying these sessions. Yay!
Great, I'm glad. Good.
All right, you guys, we are wrapping up today. Thank you so much for engaging. It's great when people engage within the comments. It gives us a nice little conversation going so we can talk back and forth with you. So we enjoy doing these as well. Definitely like the video if you're on. And if you are watching a replay, let us know in the comments. Just type replay below. We are on every Tuesday around 8:30ish for Twintuition Tuesdays. And we're talking about just the landscape of mental wellness, and Marla always likes to talk to us about some of her experiences. It makes it interesting.
Yeah, I like talking about my experiences.
See, she likes it. All right, you guys, we're hopping off. I will see you again tomorrow for my 365 Live, and then Marla and I will be back on together next week on Tuesday for Twintuition Tuesdays.
All right, bye. Thanks for watching.